Hi, I'm Ash. I'm a social scientist and I make videos about sociology and sometimes I make vlogs. Today we are going to be talking about why the word cult has a negative connotation. So let's get into the video. And if I post this video before the other one that I just filmed, I'm sorry, but we're in New Zealand, so well, not right now, but we're going to New Zealand next week for 2 weeks, so I'm just trying to batch content a bit better, and yeah, so I'm in the spare room at the moment, because Luke's upstairs. And what's the time? It is 5:52 on the 4th of November. I don't know when this is going out, probably sometime when we're in New Zealand, but if not, don't come for me. As always, here's my blog. I'll link that down below and all my sources. And I often lack motivation for writing, but I am really passionate about it and I want to repurpose content a bit more, like write a blog and then do a video to go with that blog sort of thing. And I'm kind of going back to old blog posts to get inspo for videos and then putting the videos into those blog posts. So something that I'm really interested in is cults and things like that, and I have been to Gloria Vale and I have done a story time about that a really long time ago, so feel free to find that and check it out. I'll probably link it below so it's there. I remember once at uni someone's like, you can never make a career out of talking about cults, but on my blog there are some of the posts about cults do really well, so here we are. I want to be real with you. Cults are interesting and I am so fascinated with how they work. And personally, this is my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. I don't think that all cults are inherently bad. Some are, obviously, like Manson's cult. That was bad because it ended in murder. But there are cults that just live how they want to live. But I still do think cults are quite creepy and I couldn't live in one. Like, I like being in mainstream society. I like being able to choose. I like feminism. Some people really thrive in cults. I would not. I think too much. But there are some people out there who want a more simple life and I'm not one to judge them. So what is a cult? Let's start with a Wikipedia definition. So according to Wikipedia, in the English-speaking world, the term cult often carries derogatory connotations in the sense it has been considered a subjective term used as an ad hominem attack against groups with differing doctrines or practices. Cult, it just sounds scary, doesn't it? Like the word. And when you hear about mass deaths and manipulations of followers, murder, crime, how can you not be scared? I must also note that the word cult, or cults in general, are associated with things that go against the norm. But is there really a norm? That's a whole other debate. I feel like I could probably write something about social norms, but I don't know. I'm already going off track. The term cult typically carries a negative connotation because it is often associated with groups or movements that exhibit extreme or unconventional beliefs, practices, or behaviors. So to me and you, or I'm making an assumption here, cults aren't normal. They're strange oddities that exist outside of our own lives, like we're quite removed from them. Except what happens when you visit one? Yeah, I'm going to put that blog and that vlog down below because it was a time and it's too long to put in this video. So I'm going to talk about some characteristics as to reasons why the word cult has a negative connotation. The first characteristic is manipulative leadership. I'm really bad at kicking my tripod. I need like a table tripod, I think. So manipulative leadership. Charles Manson, Jim Jones, David Koresh, Marshall Applewhite. Just a few names that come to my head who might be that kind of charming, manipulative leader that everyone just loves. I would say that sometimes, not always, people like this use coercion to maintain control over their people. But I would also say that some people tend to just be drawn to these kind of leaders, especially if they're in a state of relative deprivation. And I'm just gonna do a quick side note. So relative deprivation is when Basically, when things go really, really wrong, and it's kind of like you're in a vulnerable state. So maybe you've lost your job, someone's just broken up with you, or you've had to move from your house. You're in this vulnerable state, and when people are in those vulnerable states, they're more likely to find solace or hope or things like that in cults. And it's not always the case, but often people in a state of relative deprivation will go towards a cult. The next characteristic is isolations. So cults are usually outside of our view, far away on some farmland, and many will discourage contact with the outside world, so mainstream society, Western society, so they can keep their members' views in check. It's kind of like its own little echo chamber. A worldview that discredits alternative perspectives. And if you do leave the cult, you are often excommunicated. So I know there's lots of people in New Zealand who have left Glory Vale and they've been excommunicated. And that means they can't talk to their family in the cult. Yeah, I've spoken to someone who was in a cult. I won't say what cult it was, but they were excommunicated and just have no contact with their family anymore. So I think that's really sad and a bit unfair, but it's all about that control of things. The next characteristic is exploitation. Cults and their leaders will often exploit their members, but it will be portrayed as building trust and community. Like an example I can think of is Glory Vale has one big shared fund that used to be controlled by the late hopeful Christian, no longer with us, and it goes even further where many cult leaders will often help people in debt so that they can join their group, and that could be used against them later on. Like a manipulation tactic of like, oh, we helped you here, so now you have to contribute to our society. Moving on now to unorthodox beliefs. So such beliefs are seen so different from mainstream society that we think about cults as being odd, strange, creepy, scary, and something that we often don't want to go near. But we don't realize how many of these beliefs are sitting right in front of us, especially when it comes to flat earthers and climate change deniers. But the thing with cults is that they're so far-fetched, we couldn't think we'd believe in the same things that they do. But it's surprising how many people might fall victim to a cult, even if we think we wouldn't. I don't want to call MLMs, pyramid schemes, multi-level marketing techniques cults, because I feel like they're an entirely separate thing. But I would say they do have some kind of cult-like characteristics and manipulative tactics, especially with money, you've got to be good at it to make money, otherwise you just keep giving them your money. But yeah, that's a whole other thing. Harmful practices. And this one sucks because I don't want to believe it happens in all cults. It definitely doesn't happen in all cults, but some cults will participate in really harmful behaviors, abuse, emotional manipulation, mass deaths, i.e. Jonestown, ritualistic abuse, and it's hard to know exactly what goes on because the media does a really, really weird and strange way of reporting it. Like, I just don't know where to draw the line. I don't know what to believe. Like, from what I saw in Glory Vale and how Glory Vale was portrayed in the media, they're not the same. And that brings me to my next characteristic, which is media portrayal. And they do a wonderful job at only portraying cults in a negative way, even when there is nothing wrong. So, for example, Waco. I suggest you go and check out what happened there. It is so sad. Please get some tissues. It is awful. They were doing nothing wrong and it was just a raid. But if you think about cults and you think about what comes up in the media, it's always abuse. And it's always particular CA, and it sucks. Some cults will definitely have that going on, but others don't, and they're taken advantage of by mainstream media, in my opinion, and made out to be something they're not in a lot of cases. Not all, obviously. Some cults will fit into this category, but some will just be trying to live how they want to live. And the last characteristic is loss of autonomy. When someone joins a cult, they lose control of their own autonomy. Not always, but in most cases. They're so indoctrinated, and I use indoctrinated, not brainwashed, because they're different. If you want to know about brainwashed, look up MK Ultra, because they had no control over it. Indoctrinated is you're just so into that worldview, you can't see others' worldview, but you're still in control of it. But they forget that there are other worldviews out there. And some people may even have their whole daily routine chosen for them. I would hate that. I would hate that so much. There are plenty of other reasons we associate the word cult negatively, including what behaviors a cult might partake in, such as tax evasion, fraud, abuse, psychological manipulation, health issues, and so on. And in conclusion, the word cult needs to only be used in certain situations to describe what a cult is. And to me, a cult is as follows: a rejection of mainstream and or Western society with a specific leader and a specific set of beliefs that deviate from the norm. And yes, this is still vague, but it's all I got. And we do have to make sure we differentiate cults, new religious movements, and religions in general, because they're not all the same. There are differences. And as always, I'll post all the readings down below so you can check that out. Thank you so much for watching this video about why does the word cult have a negative connotation. I'm Ash. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It will really help me out because I'm such a small channel at the moment. And I'll see you next time. Bye!